So first thing to do is just to clean up these lengths of aluminium extrusion that I have. They've been lying around the backyard for quite a while, so I'll just give them a bit of a clean up, get off some dirt. Also, I'm going to trim the ends off square. It's got a couple extra holes there, don't really need that, and I don't want that angle there, so I'll just trim it off square. I'm going to trim them off in the miter saw. You can quite easily do aluminium in your miter saw. If you've got a high tooth count blade, like say 60, 80 or 100, no problem doing aluminium. Just don't force the blade and let the saw do all the work. I'm going to use this aluminium strip to cut into smaller sections to make the brackets to go between the bars, or to join the bars together to make up the double bar clamp. So I've got those 8 brackets now all cut, drilled, and all the burrs taken off the ends. Now each bracket is 125 millimeters long, and the center of the holes is 100 millimeters. That piece of, well, that strip of aluminium I bought, it's a standard strip from the hardware store, which is exactly 1 meter. So divided by 8, that was 125 mil each of those. So now what I'm going to do is work out, that's going to be one face of the clamp, and that's going to be the other flat face of the clamp, so they're going to sit together like that. So what I need to do is I'll just bring it up to one end. The way that's going to sit is basically like that. For that scissor action, something like that. So what I need to do is I'm going to start off drilling a hole somewhere near towards the top, just below that groove, a hole in that one and a hole in this one to mount the bracket. Okay, so that's the basic setup there with the brackets bolted to the bars. What is missing is something inside here to provide the actual clamping force against the boards, or whatever it is that you're clamping inside these bars. So what I'm thinking is I'm just going to cut a piece of hardwood, roughly about that long, same width as the board, same width as the bars, 50 millimeters. And obviously slightly less thickness than the stock that I'm going to have in the clamp. Now to determine the size of that piece, I'll just put in one of the boards that I'm going to be clamping with this clamp. That's the thickness of the boards. And what I want to do is keep this board away from these brackets sufficiently so that it doesn't foul on those brackets. So we want to avoid a situation like that. So if I bring it back probably about that much, take a measurement, that's about 65 millimeters. So if I make the clamp foot, if you want to call it that, at least 65 millimeters from the center to this end, and I'll probably just double that. One thing I've just noticed with these brackets, the bottom bracket, it needs to have the corners rounded off, because as you can see there, that corner is actually hindering the bar from coming all the way down hard against that piece of timber, so it's actually stopping it. So I'm just going to need to round off the corner on those brackets, but it's just the bottom bracket. These ones that are sitting above that, they miss the bars. This is the head of the clamp, or the adjustable end with it's going to have the screw adjuster. I'm going to use this 1/2 inch rod. What I need to do here is I need to put a block in between these two brackets here that the rod can screw through. So I'll probably utilise one of these 1/2 inch nuts on the end of that somehow. And then at the end of this rod, I need another block here, which will just be the clamping end, and that'll just clamp up against the boards. So I'll make both of those again out of the same hardwood, the merbau, because it's fairly strong and dense wood, so that'll be good for those. So I'll cut that piece up now, both of those pieces up now. The idea with this first block is to drill a hole straight through the center, 1/2 inch hole, so that this threaded rod can slip through that hole. And at the end of the block here, I'm going to rebate this nut into that block. Just show you what I mean. So what I'm hoping is if I rebate it along those flats there and sit it in, hopefully that'll be strong enough to hold that in there without it turning. And what I'll do is once that's rebated in, I'll just get another little piece and screw it over the top, sort of to lock it in. But yeah, so once I've done that, then the idea is to take these two 3/8 bolts, which will go through these brackets here, one either side. So I'm going to drill through this block of timber that way and tap a thread into that wood. What I'm going to use to thread the timber is this. I made this up a little while ago for another project I was doing. For that project, this was basically just to clean out threads, but I'm thinking on the timber it should work. It's a high tensile bolt, and I've got an angle grinder. I cut 2 slots in, a bit like a tap. And yeah, like I said, hopefully because it's timber, I'm hoping it'll actually work like a tap, so we'll see how we go. That screw head has worked out great. So the last thing to do now is to put the actual clamping head onto this. So what I'm going to do is, again, just another piece of timber like that. I'll create a rebate in here with a Forstner bit to take those double nuts. Now those 2 nuts are locked hard up against each other, so they're basically just going to swivel inside there. So yeah, so I'll do a rebate with a Forstner bit, and again, similar to this block here, once I've done that, I'll put a little piece of, a little cover piece behind that, just to make that a captured end so it can't come off. That's the head end of the clamp pretty much finished now, and it's come together pretty good. It seems to be working okay. I haven't got a handle on that yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet, but at the moment I've just got 2 nuts locked against each other, which still allows me to operate it. Okay, next thing to do is drill a whole series of holes along the length of the bars at a set interval, and that distance is going to be 150 mil, and that's because I have 150mm travel in this screw thread here, or a little bit more than 150mm. So if I set those all at 150mm, then I should be able to clamp up any size board just by adjusting the foot end, which I don't have on at the moment. I've taken that off, but the foot end will just be able to be undone with those 2 bolts that hold it in there, and just move the whole thing up. Well, the bar clamp's finished now. Tell you what, it's looking pretty good. I think we should give it a dry run, see how it goes. So I'll just put in a few of these boards. Now, if this was an actual glue up, the edges of all these boards would be covered in glue, which would make them quite slippery and want to slide around and move out of alignment. But with the double bar clamp, hopefully, I'll tighten that up there. Now, as I tighten up the clamp, these 2 pieces here will push the boards together and give them the clamping pressure for the glue up. But at the same time, these 2 joints here are pulled apart, which gives that scissor action and pulls the 2 bars together, which at the same time prevents cupping of the boards. So let's see how it goes. Now, ideally, I'd have either 1, 2, 3 clamps, depending on how big the job is. But just for this example, one will do. That's pretty tight there now. Now those boards, they're in there pretty solid, and I've got to say, that is dead flat across the top there. So that works pretty good. I think I've even impressed myself. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, got some good ideas, and maybe some inspiration to go and try something yourself. I chose to use aluminium for the clamps because basically I've got it lying around. I think I've got enough of this stuff to make 4 sets of these clamps, which is what I'm going to do. But to be honest, it's the design and the concept that you should probably take away from this video rather than the components, because to be quite honest, you could replace that aluminium bar with just a simple 2x4. 2x4 is fairly cheap to buy, or you might have them lying around your shop. Other than that, if you're going to use 2x4s for the bars, you just need a little bit of hardware in the form of these bolts and the brackets. Bolts aren't too expensive. The brackets, I was tempted to buy the brackets already drilled and cut to length at the hardware store, just a standard item, but when I looked at the price, they were between $2 and $7 each. I thought, no, there's got to be an easier way or better way. So I bought the aluminium strip. The aluminium strip was $7 for it, and out of that strip I got 8 brackets. So doing it this way was less than $1. And only takes a little bit of work in the workshop to drill the holes and cut them down. Yeah, so like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video, got some good ideas. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And also please subscribe to the channel just to show your support and to look out for any future videos. But until then, see you later.